The July 13th, 2010 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
President Adair.
Here.
Miss Andrews. Mr. Antelli. Mr. Barker. Mr. Beebe. Mr. Bronson. Mr. Cassetti. Mr. Colby. Mr. Daniele. Mrs. Draw. Mr. Eckel. Mr. Esposito is excused. Mr. Gamble. Mr. Gamina. Mr. Haney. Mr. Hanna. Mr. Hyder. Mr. Howland. Ms. Kaylee. Mr. Lee. Mr. Lightfoot. Mr. Monero. Mr. McCann. Mr. O'Brien. Dr. Quattro. Mr. Rocco. Mr. Tucciarello. Mrs. Valerio. Mr. Yolovich.
Please stay seated. I'd like to introduce Father James Schwartz of St. Joe's Church of Rochester, who has been invited tonight by Legislator Debbie Draw.
Let us take a moment in the presence of our loving God to open our eyes, our hearts, our whole selves. May we sense all the good things we have from our gracious God. And the scripture reading is from the book of Leviticus. If you follow my statutes and keep my commandments and observe them faithfully, I will give you your rains in their season, and the land shall yield its produce, and the trees of the field shall yield their fruit. I will look with favor upon you and make you fruitful and multiply. And I will maintain my covenant with you, and I will walk among you, and will be your God, and you shall be my people. I invite you to respond, praise God forever, to this litany of praise and thanksgiving. Blessed are you, O Lord, the God of creation. Praise God forever. Bless the Lord, all you works of the Lord. Bless those divided by fear or misunderstanding. Praise God forever. Bless those who foster peace and stand up for justice. Praise God forever. Bless those who labor to enrich our land and provide nourishment. Praise God forever. Bless our neighborhoods, our schools, and all those who struggle to provide for their families.
Praise God forever.
Bless each one serving in our government.
Praise God forever.
Bless those in the armed services and protect those in danger.
Praise God forever.
Bless each one here, that we never grow complacent about another's hardship.
Praise God forever.
Blessed are you, God, who walks beside us, comforting us and guiding us.
Praise God forever.
And let us pray. Creator of the universe, we are your people. You bless our earth with natural beauty and wealth. Show us the way to use these blessings without destroying them. You gift each person with talents. Show us the way to bring out the best in all people and appreciate the work of each one who is our responsibility. You provide us with the ability to work and to persevere when times are difficult. Show us how to assist those who are deeply in need and have fallen down time and time again. You are our true example of steadfast love and joy. Show us the way to work together in peace and harmony, even when challenges come our way. May each precious moment we spend working for the good of all people enable others to have such blessings in future generations. We ask this in your holy name, God, forever and ever. Amen. And may the peace of God be with you, and may God guide your deliberations with the light of holy wisdom. And may abundant grace and the abiding peace of God be with you all, In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.
Marshall, thank you. On behalf of the whole County Legislature, do that certificate. Thank you very much. Take care. Legislator Michael G. Barker will now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance of flag. Legislator Barker. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You have received a copy of the Journal of Day 7, June 8, 2010. Without exception, that journal stands approved as submitted. There is a hearing loop in place tonight to assist those who are hearing impaired. Anyone requesting assistance should inquire at the clerk's office.
If you have a cellular phone, pager, or other electronic device in your possession, we would request that you silence them for the duration of the meeting. Thank you for your cooperation.
Legislators, the referrals submitted to the legislature for the next committee cycle are in your folders. At this time, I would like to introduce Mark Quinn from our Parks and Recreation Department. And Mark, would you be so kind as to introduce the plant of the month? And I would also like to add that the Plant of the Month is here at a request of Legislator Gamble. Thank you.
And we at the Parks Department, we're very happy we could find some nice examples of Rebecca fulgidia, i.e. Black Eye Susan. It's a beautiful plant. It's in bloom this time of year. It's a native plant to New York. It's one of our most popular perennials, meaning it'll come back year after year if you plant it. These are about at full height. They really have some great attributes. They have some very nice winter interest. So later when the leaves fall off, they have some nice seed heads. To keep them really nice, you want to trim them back during the blooming season. They'll actually grow thick enough that they can kind of choke out the weeds. Again, they're a native. The deer don't like them. The rabbits don't like them. They're a very good plant for our area. They tolerate a wide variety of soil types. What you do need to have is a fair amount of sun, though, at least partial sun. They prefer full sun. They're somewhat drought tolerant, but they prefer a well-drained, moist soil. They'll do best in that situation. And they're really beautiful this time of year, and you can see them throughout the Parks Department out in open fields because they're a native. And this group of plants is going to end up in front of Lamberton Conservatory after doing its time down here, and you can see them throughout the rest of the summer. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Mark. Mark certainly knows his plant of the month. This evening there are several proclamations scheduled. Madam Clerk.
Would members of the Monroe County, City of Rochester Council for People with Disabilities please come forward? Also, County Executive Maggie Brooks and President Jeffrey R. Adair.
Really?
Hi, Peg. Hi, how are you? Good, thank you. Whereas 20 years ago, this July 26th, the Federal Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, of 1990 was signed into law. And whereas this landmark legislation at once acknowledges the historic exclusion, discrimination, and segregation experienced by people with physical and mental disabilities and pledges to eliminate these wrongs. And whereas according to the 2000 census, there are an estimated 50 million Americans living with disabilities, approximately 120,000 of which live in Rochester and Monroe County. And whereas the ADA has been the catalyst for substantial and far-reaching changes that have resulted in the removal of many barriers to our built environment, employment policies, and service delivery practices in government and in public accommodations, thereby significantly improving the quality of life and community involvement for people with disabilities. And whereas disability rights advocates continue to strengthen the foundation of our country by actively promoting the full inclusion of people with disabilities into American life, reminding us that the democratic idea of freedom must be universally accessible to us all. Now, therefore, we, Monroe County Executive Maggie Brooks and Legislature President Jeffrey R. Adair, on this day, July 13th, 2010, celebrate the 20th anniversary of the signing of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Furthermore, we commend all those who have worked tirelessly before and since to secure equal rights, equal opportunity, and inclusion in all aspects of American life for individuals with physical and mental disabilities.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the County City Council for People with Disabilities, and our members are here, and also with appreciation for those who did indeed work tirelessly, even for many years before this act was passed, to make the ADA a reality. We'd also like to thank County Executive Brooks and the legislature for their support and leadership in implementing the ADA throughout Monroe County government and setting a great example for the rest of the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Would Dr. Bain, President of St. John Fisher College, please come forward? Also President Adair and Legislator Michael G. Barker and Anthony J. Daniele. Whereas Dr. Donald Bain, the president of St. John Fisher College and member of the St. John Fisher community for over 30 years, has been a masterful leader in the education community. And whereas St. John Fisher College has significantly benefited from Dr. Bain's skillful leadership, the college is known as a premier institution which has enhanced our community and local education. And whereas Dr. Bain is possibly best known for his cultivation of Irish history and culture in the Rochester area, his family originates from the counties of Cork and Kerry, and he returned to Ireland in 2008 to explore further educational opportunities in Rochester's sister city, Waterford, Ireland. And whereas Dr. Bain recently presided as the Grand Marshal of the 2010 St. Patrick's Day Parade in Rochester and was also named to the prestigious Irish Education 100, a list of dignified and proficient scholars of Irish descent in North America. These honors received by Dr. Bain speak to his exceptional dedication to the educational community as well as his commitment to the spread of Irish knowledge and culture. Now therefore we, President Jeffrey R. Adair, Michael G. Barker, Vice President, and Anthony J. Daniele, Legislator District 10, on behalf of the entire Monroe County Legislature, do hereby recognize Dr. Donald Bain for his devotion to preserving and nurturing the local Irish culture and education.
I'm sincerely humbled by this and would like to thank Madam Speaker, President Adair, Vice President Michael Barker, Anthony Danielle, and all the legislator for this honor. Sometimes when one attends these events, when I do anyway, speaking of things Irish, I feel just a little bit like the principal subject at an Irish wake. Necessary for the occasion, but not expected to do too much. So I'll try not to. This is really about the college and about the community as far as I'm concerned. And it is amazing when I think of the years. This actually starts my 37th year at the college, and several of them spent as a professor. When I look around the legislature, when I look at the gallery, even the people standing up here, and some of the people who just as recently as May 8th, I awarded a presidential medal to, who are alums of the college. It's certain indeed that the contributions we've made together to this community are enormous and far outweigh anything any single person has done. And I am truly pleased and proud to have been part of that. As I often say, since my wife hates it when I say it, but since the earth cooled, because that seems like how long I've been here. We continue our mission, and fundamentally, in the spirit of the Basilian Fathers who founded the college, who have a pretty straightforward slogan: teach discipline, goodness, and knowledge. That's in my bones. I also believe that our job is to help men and women build lives, create careers, and serve the community. And every one of you in this room, whether a legislator or a spectator, are making contributions, whether or not you're an alum. I think our alums do it especially well. And in particular, Michael Barker, who I might add was only an A student when he was my student, but an A-plus guy. And there are many others, including...
Oh, boy.
Including proud parents here and so many other alums that I think reflect that philosophy. Goodness, discipline, and knowledge, build lives, create careers, and then go back and serve the community. It's pretty straightforward. I think this is a recognition also for anybody of Irish-American descent. On St. Patrick's Day, of course, just about all of us have a little Irish in us. And that's a wonderful thing. And I think this kind of recognition, to me, is really more about that multi-layered fabric of this great republic that is so respectful of the roots and the background and the origins of virtually every one of us and what we represent, from the old world to the new, from the early days of the colonies to the present. That's what makes me so, I think, proud of what this signifies, not personally as much as what it represents to the strength of the nation. Finally, Ireland is a place of great contrast, but also enormous beauty and wonderful, wonderful humor. The first time I was in Ireland, I was in the Navy, and I was flying, and we spent a lot of time one winter up in the Arctic Ocean near the Northwest Passage, up near Murmansk, northwest passage near the Norwegian Sea. We're looking, height of the Cold War, looking for Soviet ships and finding out what kind of equipment they used and so forth. Well, we had a problem. The starboard number 2 engine caught on fire, nowhere to go. Whole continent was closed in. And the one place it would take us was this little NATO base in the north of Ireland. And we were just pleased that somebody, we were orphans at that point. And we put the fire out in the number 2 engine, but we're limping along. And they allowed us about a 400-foot ceiling. My first introduction to Ireland, despite the past, on the ground, was we called in. They knew we were coming. They knew the problems we were having. And the air traffic controller with a heavy Irish brogue said our call sign was Navy 496. He said, Navy 496, will this be a practice touch and go or a full stop? I didn't know whether to laugh or whether to cry. I've been in Waterford recently, probably going to go back again this year. It's our sister city, as you know. It's a beautiful place. They're struggling a bit now with the Celtic tiger that's for so long inspired Irish financial economic development, and I'm certain they'll recover. I'd love to tell long and tall tales about my own Irish background from Kerry to Donegal, but I won't. What I'll do is leave you with this, and it ends with a little bit of a humor as my comments began, regarding our roots, which I spoke sincerely about a few minutes ago for all of us. In Ireland, there's a lot of genealogists. These are local historians, and of course, as soon as they find out you're a Yank, they're marvelously pleasant and friendly, but they all, of course, want to write your family history. And the last one I ran into said, for 40 euros, we'd be glad to write your family history. And for 80 euros, we'll keep quiet about it. Thank you again, all of you, Maggie, Michael. God bless you all.
Would Bridget Merriman please come forward? Also President Jeffrey R. Adair and Legislator Debbie Draw. Whereas on February 20th, 2009, Bridget Merriman was diagnosed with stage 4 lymphoma, a cancer in the lymphatic cells of the immune system. Despite the grim news, Bridget remained strong and high-spirited. Her mother, Tracy, has said that throughout the ordeal, her daughter was extremely brave even as the family faced an emotional whirlwind. And whereas during her treatment, Bridget met an Ethiopian physician who explained that in Ethiopia, many children could be cured of cancer, but they don't have money for treatment. Bridget took it upon herself and started a fund to provide Ethiopian children with medication and necessary supplies to aid in their recovery. To date, Bridget has raised over $8,000 for the cause. And whereas this year, Bridget was honored as a Miracle Kid at the annual Golisano Children's Hospital Celebration of Miracles Luncheon. She also participated in the Children's Miracle Network Telethon and the Stroll for Strong Kids. These events raise money for a great cause and bring together hospital patrons and Miracle Kids. And whereas Bridget's effort to raise money for others who are less fortunate are admirable. Monroe County and the town of Penfield are proud to be called home to such a brave young girl. Bridget is truly an inspiration to our entire community. Now, therefore, we, Jeffrey R. Adair, President, and Debbie Draw, Legislator District 9, on behalf of the entire Monroe County Legislature, do hereby recognize and congratulate Bridget Merriman on being named a Golisano Children's Hospital Miracle Kid, as well as raising money for medical supplies in Ethiopia.
Well, certainly, as you can imagine, we're all very glad to be here in more ways than one. But thank you, Debbie Draw. Thank you for recognizing our wonderful daughter who, despite all the adversity she was facing, wanted nothing more than to help others who are less fortunate. So thank you very much.
Would the Pittsford Sutherland varsity baseball team please come forward? Also, President Jeffrey R. Adair and legislators Anthony Daniele and Kieran T. Hanna.
Nice job of the boy. Welcome. Look at that ties. Everybody's got ties on. That's nice. Nice.
Whereas the Pittsford Sutherland Knights won the Class A New York State Championship on June 12, 2010 with a 6-5 win over Wantagh. The baseball team was led by Coach Jim Capilupo as well as a strong, talented lineup. The games throughout the season were exciting and ended with an impressive 24-2 record. And whereas the Knights have displayed their talent all season long with inspiration coming from Coach Capilupo. When it came time to step up, each member of the team did so, and the Knights were able to capture the New York State Championship for their community. And whereas the dedication this team showed throughout their season is admirable, they have represented our community with great pride. The future is bright for these young athletes. And whereas each team member put forth tremendous effort, which led to their win for the title. The Pittsford community and Monroe County are proud to have such talented young athletes representing our community. Now, therefore, we, Jeffrey R. Adair, President, and Anthony Daniele, Legislator District 10, and Kieran T. Hanna, Legislator District 18, on behalf of the entire Monroe County Legislature, do hereby recognize and congratulate the Pittsford Sutherland varsity baseball team on winning the Class A New York State Baseball Championship.
Congratulations. Good job.
Yeah. It's quite an honor to come down here tonight. I really appreciate being invited. Thank you very much, Mr. Daniele. It's been quite a whirlwind over the last month with this. We've been doing a lot of outstanding, memorable things for our boys, and this, without a doubt, is a very memorable thing, something I'll never forget, as will these young men. A lot goes into winning a state championship, but first and foremost, you got to have good quality kids, and I was blessed with these gentlemen to my right here. We have a 22-man roster, but many of the players had to they had a game tonight. If they weren't there, the team would forfeit, so they had to be here. But to my right are some of my key ball players. I'd like to just quickly announce them: Matt Barra, Brad Kaska, Nick Barra, Zach Salvia, Tim Stokowski, Nick Flemister, team manager David Sperry, my two trusted assistant coaches, Chris Dermody, and my father, Jim Capilupo Sr., and our bat boy, my son, James Capilupo III. Thanks once again for having us down here. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Would Jason Wasserman please come forward? Also, President Adair and legislators Mary A. Valerio and Travis Hyder. Whereas Jason Wasserman has excelled in Monroe County as a bowler, baseball player, and multi-sport coach for Brighton Varsity Athletics. As an extraordinary bowler, Jason has had 8 sanctioned perfect games to date and 4 remarkable 800 series, 3 consecutive games totaling over 800 points in league play. And whereas Jason's baseball talent was evident from a young age when he became a 3-year starter for the Brighton Barons, He also had the distinction of twice earning first-team All-County honors. He continued his career and was an American Legion All-Star and the Big League Most Valuable Player. Jason also played 2 years of baseball at the University of Charleston, West Virginia. And whereas Jason was instrumental in starting the Brighton High School bowling program and has been the varsity bowling head coach since 1998. During his tenure, Brighton has captured the Monroe County Championship 3 times, and he has been named the Monroe County Coach of the Year twice. In 2004, Jason was named Brighton Varsity Head Baseball Coach, and his team competed in the sectional championship game in 2006. Jason also serves as the Brighton Varsity Head Football Coach. And whereas in May 2010, Jason was inducted into the Rochester Jewish Community Center Sports Hall of Fame. His achievements have brought tremendous honor and excitement to the Rochester Jewish community. Monroe County is proud to have such an active resident positively impacting our community. Now therefore we, Jeffrey R. Adair, President, Mary A. Valerio, Legislator District 3, and Travis Hyder, Legislator District 14, on behalf of the entire Monroe County Legislature, do hereby recognize and congratulate Jason Wasserman for being inducted into the Rochester Jewish Community Center Sports Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
I just want to say thank you, especially to Mary Valerio, Mr. Adar, and Mr. Hyder for having me here today. It was a great honor for me to not only get into the Hall of Fame, but also to be asked down here to accept this nice certificate of recognition. Just try and do things that I have fun doing and seem to do okay at them. So I'll keep on trying to do what I can, especially have fun coaching the kids, and that's now my pleasure. And hopefully the Brighton Barons will do some good things in the future. Thank you very much.
Would Eagle Scout Raymond LaJulius Nichols please come forward? Also President Adair and legislators Kelvin Lee Jr. and Glenn Gamble. Whereas for over 100 years, the Boy Scouts of America, the nation's largest youth organization, has been promoting honor, self-reliance, and responsibility among young men. Raymond LaJulius Nichols, a member of Troop 46 of the Seneca Waterways Council, has attained the highest rank in scouting, that of Eagle Scout, and has learned to live by and respect the Scout's oath and law. And whereas in keeping with the Scout oath, Raymond has striven to do his best and what is expected of him from his family and community. He has obeyed the Scout law to the best of his ability and helps other people at all times. Raymond has proven to those around him that the tenets of Scout law are something that he holds in high regard. And whereas, as a final step in carrying out the requirements for Eagle Scout, Raymond organized and ran a clothing and shoe drive for Mary's Place on Lexington Avenue. Mary's Place, a refugee and immigrant center in the Maplewood neighborhood, received a boost to their ministry from Raymond when he and his fellow Scouts cleaned the shelter, organized the donation center, collected winter clothing for women and children, and built shoe racks. In all, the clothing drive collected more than 60 bags of clothing. And whereas extremely active in our community, he is captain of the Western Region Cadets 2009th Regiment and is also a member of the NAACP, Biz Kids, Teen Court, American Legion Boys State, and was active in several clubs in high school, in addition to being CPR certified. And whereas having just graduated from Bishop Kearney High School, Raymond is attending Monroe Community College to study business administration and political science, while also participating in the ROTC. He is a shining example to other young citizens, and by receiving the rank of Eagle Scout, he has brought recognition and honor to his Scout troop, family, and community. Now, therefore, let it be known that we, Jeffrey R. Adair, President, Calvin Lee, Jr., Assistant Democratic Leader, and Glenn Gamble, Legislator District 22, on behalf of the entire Monroe County Legislature, do hereby honor Eagle Scout Raymond LaJulius Nichols for his exceptional achievements and his dedication to community service.
I just want to thank God, for without him I wouldn't be here today. Thank Troop 46, Boy Scouts, my scout leaders. Thank Mr. Gamble. Thank, oh, I'm sorry. 209th Regiment Corps Cadets, our leaders back there, they came to support me. Thank the state of New York, and thank everyone here. Thank you very much.
Would Marlon Johnson please come forward? Also, President Jeffrey R. Adair and Legislator Willie J. Lightfoot and Carrie M. Andrews. Whereas Marlon Johnson, long known in the community for his talent on the basketball court, was a star player for Benjamin Franklin High School, Monroe Community College, and currently the Rochester Razor Sharks. And whereas this past basketball season, Marlon used his athletic success to help raise awareness and donate research dollars for the fight against breast cancer, a disease that will afflict 1 out of every 8 women in their lifetimes. By partnering with the Breast Cancer Coalition of Rochester, BCCR, a local organization dedicated to ending breast cancer through increased research and advocacy, he created Rebounding for BCCR, where he pledged to donate $5 for every rebound he made throughout the 2009-2010 season, and was able to get local businesses to match his contribution. Sporting pink sneakers at each game, Marlon's admirable efforts drew throngs of fans wearing pink shirts, ribbons, or bracelets. And whereas, drawing motivation from friends and family members that are breast cancer survivors, Marlon recently joined BCCR on an advocacy bus trip to Albany and met with state legislators to promote policies that will advance breast cancer research and help survivors. And whereas, later this month, Marlon will kick off Giving Back to the community to promote the health and well-being of children and women. The event, which will benefit the BCCR and the Southwest Colts Pop Warner teams, will feature a basketball tournament, free dental cleanings and eye exams for children, and free mammograms for women. Through his admirable advocacy and fundraising efforts, Marlon has helped inspire breast cancer survivors to keep fighting and continue their hope for a cure. Now, therefore, let it be known that we, Jeffrey R. Adair, President, Willie J. Lightfoot, Legislator District 27, and Carrie M. Andrews, Assistant Minority Leader, on behalf of the entire Monroe County Legislature, do hereby honor and commend Marlon Johnson for his athletic success and for his outstanding advocacy and dedication in the fight against breast cancer.
Thank you, Ms. Andrews and Mr. Lightfoot. I'm not one to normally accept accolades. I'll be a fool to say that I'm not honored to accept this on behalf of the county legislator. I just have one question. How many of these are you allowed to earn? Huh? All right. Well, I'll be back. Thank you.
Would Joseph Hall please come forward? Also President Jeffrey R. Adair and Legislator Willie J. Lightfoot. Whereas Joseph E. Hall has dedicated his life to serving people. As the owner of the Joseph E. Hall Funeral Home located on West Main Street in the city of Rochester, Joseph has helped area families find peace during their most difficult of times, mourning the loss of a loved one. And whereas Joseph E. Hall, born in Valdosta, Georgia, even as a child demonstrated a proclivity to bury things with dignity. A graduate of the New York State School of Embalming and Restorative Art in 1955, he became manager of the famed Unity Funeral Home located on 8th Avenue in Harlem from 1957 to 1968, after completing his residency. And whereas Joseph became a part of our nation's tumultuous history when he was asked by Betty Shabazz to make the funeral arrangements for her late husband, human rights activist Malcolm X, who was assassinated while giving a speech at the Audubon Ballroom in New York City on February 21st, 1965. As manager, Joseph was entrusted with overseeing what was undoubtedly one of the most high-profile and high-security funeral services held during the Civil Rights era. And whereas Joseph chose to move to Rochester in 1972, where he worked for the Genesee Funeral Home for 10 years until he opened his own business, the Joseph E. Hall Funeral Home, in 1983. The professionalism and grace displayed by Mr. Hall throughout his distinguished career has garnered him the respect and appreciation of our community. He is a dedicated Rochesterian committed to the well-being of our neighborhoods, evidenced by his work with the Urban League of Rochester and the Church of God by Faith, where he serves as an ordained deacon and finance secretary. And whereas Joseph E. Hall has demonstrated an inexhaustible devotion to serving our community, his integrity, his character, and the heartfelt concern he has shown and continues to show his fellow Rochesterians are worthy of the highest praise. Now, therefore, let it be known that we, Jeffrey R. Adair, President, and Willie J. Lightfoot, Legislator District 27, on behalf of the entire Monroe County Legislature, do hereby honor and commend Joseph E. Hall for his commitment to the residents of the city of Rochester and for the tremendous contribution he has made to our community.
To Mr. Lightfoot and to the entire body, I'm grateful for this recognition. Not only will I remember this recognition, but I will cherish it forever. Thank you so much.
We will now recess for the purpose of holding one public hearing. I declare open a public hearing for adopting the 2011-2016 Capital Improvement Program.
There are no speakers registered for this hearing.
There being none, I declare this public hearing closed and convene the July 13, 2010 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature. At this time, there are no formal committee reports scheduled for this evening. We'll now hold the public forum. We have several people registered to address the legislature. Mrs. Rossi.
If you require assistance, a deputy will assist you in approaching the lectern. Please use the center aisle and come forward when your name is called. You will have 2 minutes in which to address the legislature. Please conclude when the timer sounds and exit through the back of the chambers. Thank you for your cooperation. Our first speaker will be Robert Hartman. Please come forward. Robert Hartman. Our next speaker is Ken Wade. Please come forward.
Good evening. Sorry about my dress, but I didn't have time to get home. Had a little incident happen on the way home. Somebody broke into my truck and stole my camera. I got all the police, and I went around the city. I found the guy and got him arrested, so I didn't get time to get home. My thing tonight is the telephone system of the DHS. I spoke here a couple of years ago, and it seemed to improve. And then all of a sudden I heard recently that a company had come in to readjust the system. Well, it hasn't worked. I had a problem last December. I got recertification in the mail. Instead of mailing it back in, I took it down to St. Paul, left it there, got a receipt. I got a letter in January saying I was going to be cut off February 1st because I hadn't complied. Tried to get hold of my worker. I couldn't get hold of her. I have not been able to get hold of her since January. Every time I call, the mailbox is full. A couple of times it gets through to an attendant. A couple of times I leave messages. She's never got back to me. And when I'm part of Empower, so I had some other alternatives. I got hold of a supervisor. She helped a little bit. I got hold of Mr. Bob Franklin, and he helped me out. I got things sorted out. But every time I try and call my worker, I can never get hold of her. When I tried to get hold of my employment worker the other day, about a month ago, got an attendant. The attendant says, well, the mailboxes get full. So obviously the capacity of the mailboxes has got a lot smaller. This is my thinking. That something has to be done about this. If I have a problem, must be a lot of other people have problems too. I'd just like to see the system sorted out. And I got hats off to Mr. Bob Franklin and Kelly Reed. They've done a wonderful job with DHS. They've made some great improvements. Being with Empower, I've got to know of all these improvements, and they're very good at it. They're doing a very good job. It's just this thing with the telephone. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Tom Gregory.
Well, the topic I'm going to stick to is government. And basically, a lot of things you might not notice, people who haven't been here for a long time, but about 2 legislative sessions ago, we had probably what would amount to people being rushed from behind the podium by some, a mistake in protocol. And what you don't realize is that this legislative body has already changed the language, as Joanne speaks to us, rather than saying you have 2 minutes and 2 minutes only, has changed it to, we would appreciate your cooperation. People have a tendency to say the government is not responsive and say, I don't believe that's to be true. I think that exactly the language that Joanne speaks tells us something about the government that we deal with. A lot of things the public doesn't see, a lot of things go on behind closed doors. But I would say that the conversation by which, that proceeds in these chambers and around is certainly excellent. We had a minister beforehand who spoke about the power of God and claimed Leviticus and such. I'll make a point. There's another set of laws that by which this government is governed that each of these officers swear to, and that's the Constitution. And I'll tell you what, I think the Constitution vesting the sovereign power of this country in people like the people who've spoken here already, hopefully, tells us about ourselves more than maybe even the belief in God does. I hate to distinguish the two, but oftentimes it seems that we look to something that each one of us individually in this chamber hold uniquely to ourselves, where in actuality we have a law that binds us all together, a Constitution. And this government that we see right here in front of us is certainly representative thereof. Thank you.
Thank you. This concludes the public forum.
We will now proceed with the consideration of motions, resolutions, and notices. Will the clerk read the first item on the agenda? Mrs. Rossi.
Item number 1, referral 10-152.
Moved by Legislator Howland, second by Legislator Hanna, Valerio, Antelli, Draw, Cassetti, Colby, and Daniele. This is a lifting from the table motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Item carries.
Item number 2, referral 10-152, providing that.
Moved by legislator Howell and second by legislators Hannah, Valerio, Antelli, Draw, Cassetti, Colby, and Daniele. This is to be adopted. All in favor? Yes.
I have a couple of questions, Mr. President. One of the important tools in analyzing the proposed CIP is the annual capital budget report that we receive. I'd like to raise, Mr. President, a couple of questions about the allocation for planning and feasibility studies, which in the CIP is allocated $250,000 in each of the next 6 years. And indeed, I begin by acknowledging that this is a considerable improvement. The legislature will recall that I've spoken before about unused funds in this account. And I'm glad to see that the annual allocation has been reduced from $400,000 to $250,000. But my first question, Mr. President, is that in the 2009 Capital Project Status Report, which the legislature received, it indicates for capital account number 1457, which is the planning and feasibility studies, that according to the report that there had been a total of $800,000 authorized and total expenses and encumbrances were $297,791. My question, Mr. President, is, am I correct in assuming that what that means is that out of the $800,000 that had been authorized in those years, there remained at the end of 2009 a little over $502,000 that had not been expended or encumbered?
Through the President, that would be correct.
Again, through you, Mr. President, am I correct in assuming that the monies that we added to this program as part of the 2010 capital budget, for which borrowing authorizations were authorized at our December 2009 meeting, namely the $260,000 that we added as part of the 2010 capital budget, is in addition to the $502,000 that was available from the earlier year appropriations?
Through the President, that would be correct also.
So that as it stood at the dawn of the year 2010, we had accumulated $762,000 for these purposes. Is that a correct summation?
Through the President, that's a correct summation, with one exception regarding while they're not encumbered funds yet for the project, the 2009 project that's reported on in the capital budget report, those dollars are dedicated to specific projects as we move forward. No contracts have been let for those projects, but those dollars are anticipated to be used during the upcoming fiscal year.
My real question, Mr. President, is that what this indicates is that in the last 2 years, we have spent a grand total of $297,000, spent or encumbered $297,000. We have $762,000 available. And my question is, it would appear that the balances in the program are way more than sufficient to cover the level of expenditures that we've been incurring, and therefore, why do we need to put another $250,000 into the account in the year 2011?
Through the President, as I stated earlier, the 2009 capital budget report does show approximately $500,000 remaining in that particular project at December 31st. Those dollars are dedicated for projects that have been lined up. While no contracts have been let, there haven't been any dollars encumbered. In addition to that, the $260,000 that's provided in the 2010 CIP is also for funds that are dedicated at this point to various projects as we move forward. As you realize, as we go through the CIP plan, and this is one of the exercises that we do very diligently each and every year, is attempt to review each and every open capital project that we have out there to determine where funds are available, to use those funds first, subsequent before coming to you to ask for an authorization for a capital improvement plan as we move forward. So while yes, there is $500,000 in the 2009 capital account number 1457 at this point in time, those dollars are spoken for from a feasibility planning standpoint, and thus are not available for future projects as we move out in years. So to reduce an appropriation or capital budget from a future year would be shortchanging future capital projects and the planning of those future capital projects.
Through you, Mr. President, well, if we only spent $297,000 spent or encumbered, $297,000 in the years 2008 and 2009, and the general capital budget is generally being reduced, that there's a significant reduction in the total dollars, which I applaud. If we've only spent $297,000 in the last 2 years, how are we conceivably going to spend almost $1 million in the next 18 months?
Through the President, again, the concept is that these dollars will continue to be used to do planning and feasibility for future projects as we move forward. The additional $500,000 in this one particular project that you point out has been, by the Environmental Services Department, has been decided as to which projects they'd like to use this for to move forward from a planning and feasibility standpoint, as well as the $260,000 that's approved in the 2010. While those dollars may not all be used in 2010, they are for projects that they need to continue to move forward with from a planning and feasibility standpoint. The issue comes that we would be shortchanging future capital development or future capital projects that may be necessary in the county by continuing to lower this funding or replace funding from the 2011 and 2016 CIP with these dollars that are still available. Again, what we don't want to do here, while we want to do this cautiously and reduce the amount of capital spending, we don't want to make a knee-jerk reaction to something that exists today at a point in time that may not exist 6 months or 12 months from now from what is available from the 2009 projects.
Mr. President, with all due respect to Mr. Adair and his explanation, the facts are that we started this year with $762,000 in this account. In the last 2 years, we spent a total of $297,000, say $150,000 a year. That means we've got about, based on the way we've been spending this money in the past, we've got 4 or 5 years of spending accumulated in this fund. For that reason, Mr. President, I would offer an amendment to replace the $250,000 included for the year 2011 in the program for planning and feasibility studies to make that zero for the year 2011. We have accumulated, based on the spending pattern of the last 2 years, more than enough money to fund the activities we routinely are undertaking, and I see no reason to appropriate another $250,000 for the year 2011. And I move such an amendment.
I have a second on the floor. Is there any discussion at this point? Okay, I'll move to a roll call vote.
Mr. Quattro? No. Mr. Bronson? Yes. Ms. Andrews? Yes. Mr. Antelli? No. Mr. Barker? No. Mr. Beebe? Yes. Mr. Cassetti? No. Mr. Colby? No. Mr. Daniele? No. Mrs. Draw? Mr. Eckel? Mr. Esposito is excused. Mr. Gamble? Yes. Mr. Gamina? No. Mr. Haney? Yes. Mr. Hanna? No. Mr. Hyder? Yes. Mr. Howland? No. Ms. Kaylee? Yes. Mr. Lee? Yes. Mr. Lightfoot? Yes, Mr. Monero? Yes. Mr. McCann? No. Mr. O'Brien? Yes. Mr. Rocco? Mr. Tucciarello? No. Mrs. Valerio? Mr. Yolovich? No. President Adair?
No.
12 to 16, amendment fails.
Back to the main motion. Legislator Haney.
Mr. President, I'd like to raise a similar question related to capital account number 1478 and the provision in the proposed CIP for equipment, furnishings, resident care at Monroe Community Hospital. Based on the capital fund that we have, it would appear that as of the end of 2009, and this is another account in which we regularly put money into this program every year, that we had accumulated $1,400,000 in a capital account 1478, when including the amount included in the 2010 capital budget. It would also appear that we haven't spent any of this money in the last 2 years. My initial question is, and I'm certainly not opposed, I'm totally in favor of maintaining the quality of the equipment and the furnishings at Monroe Community Hospital. But, with this money that the legislature has been dutifully putting into this capital account every year, my question, Mr. President, is why aren't we spending any of it?
Through the President, my answer is going to be similar as to in the last particular capital project that you identified. Again, these dollars are, while we're reducing them, they are dedicated for equipment purchases as the hospital moves forward with various needs that they have to keep the equipment up to date in order to maintain the facility in the current condition that it is and provide the services that they provide to the residents of the hospital.
Through you, Mr. President, I can certainly appreciate that, but we've been dutifully putting money into this account every year for several years, and it would appear that there's not been a nickel spent. That, to me, doesn't make any sense.
Mr. President, point of order. Asked and answered several times.
Go ahead, ask your question. Let's get an answer on it.
Through the President, as I stated earlier, the funds are available for the hospital to use for the capital needs that they require to fulfill. They are planning on spending these dollars as they are necessary to be spent and as needed. Again, if the dollars are not needed, they won't spend them, and the subsequent allocation will be reduced as it has been over this past year. But at this point in time, the dollars that are available in the projects that you're mentioning, those dollars are spoken for. The hospital does have plans to use those, and while they haven't been used today, they haven't been encumbered today, they will be.
Mr. President, I appreciate that the money is dedicated for that purpose out at MCH, but having accumulated $1,400,000 and spent nothing to date, for whatever reason the MCH administration may have for not having spent any of the money, once again, I can't see the necessity of adding another $350,000 in the year 2011. And we have to realize that everything we approve tonight for the year 2011 will come back to us as bond resolutions in December. I mean, with that kind of money accumulated in the account and with no spending occurring whatsoever, I again would move an amendment, Mr. President, to, for the year 2011, reduce the $350,000 appropriation for that item to zero. That would still leave almost $2 million in the program for the years 2012 to 2016. But the amendment would be to strike the $350,000 element for 2011 and replace that number with a zero.
Second by Legislator O'Brien. Is there any other discussion at this time? Seeing there's no other, we'll move to a roll call vote.
Mr. Quattro. No. Mr. Bronson. Yes. Ms. Andrews. Yes. Mr. Antelli. No. Mr. Barker. No. Mr. Beebe. Yes. Mr. Cassetti. No. Mr. Colby. No. Mr. Daniele. No. Mrs. Draw. No. Mr. Eckel. Yes. Mr. Esposito is excused. Mr. Gamble. Yes. Mr. Gamina. No. Mr. Haney. Yes. Mr. Hanna. No. Mr. Hyder. Yes. Mr. Holland. No. Ms. Kaylee. Yes. Mr. Lee. Yes. Mr. Lightfoot. Yes, Mr. Monero. Yes. Mr. McCann. No. Mr. O'Brien. Yes. Mr. Rocco. No. Mr. Tucciarello. No. Mrs. Valerio. No. Mr. Yolovich. No. President Adair.
No.
1216 amendment fails.
Back to the main motion. Is there any other discussion at this time? Seeing there is no discussion, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Item carries. Item number 3.
Item number 3, referral 10-188, authorizing.
Moved by Legislator Howland, second by Legislator Hanna. This is for introductory purposes only. Next item, please.
Item number 4, referral 10-188, providing that
Moved by Legislator Howland, second by Legislator Hanna. This is a tabling motion. All in favor? Any opposed? Item carries.
Item number 5, referral 10-188, fixing.
Moved by Legislator Howland, second by Legislator Hanna. This is to set the public hearing. All in favor? Any opposed? Item carries.
Item number 6, referral 10-189, amending resolution.
Moved by Legislator Hanna, second by Legislator Daniele. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing there is no discussion at this time, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries.
Item number 7, referral 10-190.
Moved by Legislator Quattro, second by Legislator Daniele. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing that there is no discussion, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Item carries.
Item number 8, referral 10-191, authorizing.
Moved by Legislator Antelli, second by Legislators Valerio and Daniele. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing that there is no discussion at this time, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries.
Item number 9, referral 192.
Moved by Legislator Draw, second by Legislator Daniele. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing there is no discussion, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? Item carries.
Item number 10, referral 10-193.
Moved by Legislator Draw, second by Legislator Daniele. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing there is no discussion, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? Item carries.
Item number 11, referral 194, amending resolution.
Moved by Legislator Draw, second by Legislator Daniele. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing that there is no discussion at this time, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? Item carries.
Item number 12, referral 10-195.
Moved by Legislators Draw, seconded by Legislator Daniele. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing that there is no discussion, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? Item carries.
Item number 13, referral 10-196, amending resolution 322.
Moved by Legislator Draw, seconded by Legislator Daniele. Is there any questions at this time? Seeing that there are no discussions, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? Item carries.
Item number 14, referral.
Moved by Legislator Tucciarello, seconded by Legislator Daniele. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing that there is no discussion at this time, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? Item carries.
Item number 15, referral 10-198.
Moved by Legislator Colby, second by Legislator Daniele. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing that there is no discussion at this time, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? Item carries.
Item number 16, referral 10-199.
Moved by Legislator Rockow, second by Legislator Daniele. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing that there is no discussion at this time, all in favor indicate by saying aye. All those opposed? Item carries.
Item number 17, referral 10-200, appointment to.
Moved by Legislator Yolovich, second by Legislator Howland. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing that there is no discussion, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. All opposed? Item carries.
Item number 18, referral 10-201, appointment.
Moved by Legislator Yolovich, seconded by Legislators Howland and Legislator Bronson. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing that there is no discussion, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? Item carries.
Item number 19, referral 202, confirmation of appointments.
Moved by Legislator Howland, seconded by Legislators Barker and Bronson. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing there is no discussion, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? Item carries.
Item number 20, referral 10-206, authorizing.
Moved by Legislator Colby, seconded by Legislator Daniele. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing there is no discussion, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? Item carries.
Item number 21, referral 10-206BR, resolution authorizing.
Moved by Legislators Colby, seconded by Legislator Daniele. Is there any discussion? Seeing that there is no discussion, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? Item carries.
Item number 22, referral 10-238.
Moved by Legislators Quattro and Yolovich. And this is for, sorry, where am I here? Okay, I'm sorry. Is there any discussion at this time? Yes. Legislator Lightfoot.
For you, Mr. President, I just wanted to make a correction for the administration. It has me listed as William Lightfoot. It should be Willie, please. Thank you.
Fair enough. Is there any other discussion at this time?
Just before we vote, Mr. President, this is a new issue for us as a legislature, as legislatures indeed across the state. I want to thank, first of all of the staff on both sides of the aisle that worked hard on this. I want to thank Mr. Taylor, and I want to thank Harry Bronson, as well as other members of his caucus for all working cooperatively on this issue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other discussion at this time? Legislator Haney.
Mr. President, I'm not sure I understand the table. that is included in the resolution that we are adopting. The first line of the table indicates that the individual works 32.75 days per month.
Through you, Mr. President, that's based on the sample calendar that's been submitted. As far as the retirement credit system is concerned, the maximum amount that an individual can receive is full-time credit, but the hours that are on this calendar are reflective of the number of hours that that individual worked on their calendar.
So even though a normal work month might be 22, 23 days or something, reporting to the state comptroller that this individual works 33 days a month will have no impact on pension benefits?
Through you, Mr. President, that is correct, other than to reflect full-time credit.
Right. Is it accurate to send into the comptroller a report saying, I mean, there's only maximum of 31 days in a month?
Through you, Mr. President, we'll work certainly with the comptroller and the retirement system as to whether or not they want us to indicate that the number is simply the full-time number, or if they want us to provide the exact reflective amount. Ultimately, this is a two-step process. The regulations require us to submit a certified copy of this resolution to the comptroller, and then the second step would be through the Human Resources Department, which would provide the bi-weekly report as to the retirement credit of the individual. So we can certainly determine as to whether or not, when that information is submitted, that we were simply give them full time, or if they want the this number. But again, it would have no effect.
Thank you.
Any other questions at this time? Seeing that there is no more discussion on this, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries.
Item number 23, referral 10-239, accepting.
Moved by Legislator Daniele, second by Legislator Yolovich. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing that there is no discussion at this time, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries.
Item number 24, referral 10-240, approving Monroe Community College's 2010.
Moved by Legislator Valerio, second by Legislator Daniele. This is for introductory purposes only.
Item number 25, referral 10-240, providing that resolution.
Moved by Legislators Valerio, second by Legislators Daniele. This is a tabling motion. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Item carries.
Item number 26, referral 10-240, fixing public hearing on resolution.
Moved by Legislator Valerio, second by Legislator Daniele. This is to schedule a public hearing. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Item carries.
Item number 27, referral 10-241, electing.
Moved by Legislators Daniele, second by Legislators Yolovich. This is for the introductory purposes only.
Item number 28, referral 10-241, providing that.
Moved by Legislator Daniele, second by Legislator Yolovich. This is a tabling motion. All in favor? Opposed? Item carries.
Item number 29, referral 10-241, fixing public hearing.
Moved by Legislator Daniele, second by Legislator Yolovich. This is to schedule the public hearing. All in favor? Any opposed? Item carries. Is there any unfinished business to come before this body tonight? Legislator Beebe.
Thank you, Mr. President. I noticed that the head of Parks and Recreation showed up here to the meeting. I received an email today of concern up at Shalat Beach that the basketball hoops had been removed. I wonder if you could fill us in on that.
Legislator, I'm sorry, I could not hear the first part of what you asked. I'm sorry. Could you repeat it?
Mr. Staub is here on the floor, and I'd like to ask him an inquiry of an email that I received today up at Shalat at the Ontario Beach that one of the constituents were concerned that the workers up there were removing the basketball hoops.
Thank you.
And they said that he needed to contact the legislature.
Okay.
So I'd like to see if I could get some information on that, if I could. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. President, the legislator is correct. Last Friday, we did remove the remaining basketball hoops at the robot complex at Ontario Beach Park. This was due to a structural problem that we encountered where one of the basketball hoops came down. They weigh about 600 pounds, came down from people hanging on it. We also found that another one was in jeopardy of coming down as well. And due to the age of those hoops and also the weight of those hoops and the potential for injury, we decided the most prudent thing would be to take those down.
Thank you. Anything else? Sir, there being no unfinished business, Dr. Quattro.
Mr. President, I move this honorable body stand adjourned until Tuesday, August 10th, 2010 at 6 p.m.